Ah, hello, this is Dirty 20 Gaming. It's Friday. My name is Kevin. I don't know why I put the in front. Just keep going. Just keep going. Pretend you planned it. And these wonderful people have agreed to join me and play a game tonight. It's going to be kind of a strange game tonight, so that's probably why I started like this. But they did, and that makes me happy. So let's talk to the people that make me happy. Let's start with Aaron slash Primus.
Hello, everyone. I am Aaron, also known as Primus. You can find me over on Twitter at Primus_Cats. Find me here on Fridays playing everyone's favorite troubled Chad, Mickey Mick O'Houlihan. You can also find me on Tuesdays. Right now we're playing a series of one-shots due to some of our players having real life stuff. Over on Charlie Xavier D&D. Which normal campaign is Dragons at Stormrock Isle. Right now, we're just kind of doing like some one shots while real life stuff sorts itself out.
Fair. Thank you very much. You can find all of us, by the way, on Discord. There's a link. And before anybody gets on me again this week, I did something. I put it in the on Twitch. It's underneath. It's actually in the thing underneath on Twitch now. So the link is a permanent link is there. So go there, join us. If you want to do, especially if you want to do this, we will get you in the game. We will get you on stream. It's fun. You wouldn't believe it. How much fun it is. Next. Let's go with Solar Dasher.
Hello. Sorry, it's been a long week and I still have a little bit more week to go, but whatever. It is what it is, right? Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm Solar Dasher. I do stream on my own sometimes. I'm still working on figuring it out with my new rig, so I have to figure out how to do the dual screen type thing because there's only one HDMI port, and I'm like, okay, why only one? Like, it's a gaming PC. You figure there'd be more than one.
There certainly should be.
Exactly. I'll figure it out eventually. Otherwise, you can catch me here on Thursdays playing King's Pyrite. There I play Luna, who's actually had a Chaos Magic Surge.
Already? Wow.
Yesterday.
First episode. Oh, wow.
First episode already had a Chaos Magic Surge.
Most wondrous.
So,
there we go.
Yes. The game is based off of the animation made famous from Dingo Doodles on YouTube,
Yes.
the Fool's Gold campaign.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to being into that next week. And then you can also find me here on Fridays playing Blake.
Yep.
They're still trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah. My favorite kind of character.
I keep saying she, but I don't think she's there yet.
Yep. Fair. All right.
Still they, them, and then otherwise, yeah, Discord, like Kevin said.
Pop into Discord. We're fun. And nice to each other, but we'll get to that again at the end. But before I forget, we got to finish the circle. Sean, you already put a link up. Tell us about your cool stuff.
It's Dells for Donors. Still trying to get feedback, but if nothing else, you can find me at dellsfordonors.com. I literally just last night got admin access back to my website. Yay. It's only been a month.
It is nice to be in control of things. Yes,
they fixed it. They forgot to tell me they fixed it and to tell me what the fix was. But also at Dells for Donors over on Twitter, you can see some of this previous Dells information there. If you scroll back into some of my feed, you can find some of the great things we did. Tomorrow, I get to actually go play some games with some middle school kids at one of the public libraries. We're gonna see just how well they do. And
I am ambivalent in the true sense, as in I'm hung between two conflicting emotions, because part of me that sounds like a lot of fun, and part of me that sounds like hell in a box.
And the thing is, I've actually volunteered to do this.
Well then that takes a lot off, right? Nobody's paying you, so it's just like if it goes poorly, you just cut it short and get out.
Just there to have fun. So hopefully convince some young minds that they need to expand through imagination.
Yeah. Which brings us around to me, and I'm not going to forget this time. We are here now, back to 5 nights a week, for goodness sakes, because Monday nights we have our Buffy the RPG campaign, the Brave New World. Tuesday nights we have our Cyberpunk Red campaign, which is Carnage Heights. Oh boy. Thursday is our new show, King's Pyrite, the Fool's Gold campaign, which is up to a great start in the VODs. Go watch the VOD after this tonight, because I would love nothing more than for their first episode, to have a great big number of views on VOD. So please go watch it after tonight. We're going to keep tonight short. And then on Saturdays, we'll make you cry for the weekend with our Dead to Rights campaign, where I keep trying to give them opportunities to smile, and they keep saying, no, we'll go over here instead. So, with that, let's do this. Because last time here, you left Callum's house for the first time since this whole thing started, because time is odd when you're traveling in time in the hologram, breaking the rules. So there's that moment as a sort of the four of you step out into the street, and like every 13-year-old ever, he almost literally hits the ground running. Tyler takes about 3 steps, the board hits the ground, Tyler hits the board, the camera comes, the phone comes out, the button gets hit, and he's checking his numbers and starting to do cool art shots, rolling away like nothing. None of the changes have phased him. Just the most jaded little preteen, early teen tweener ever. Oof, he's gone into the darkness, because it is dark. I remember saying that last time. It's like 3 a.m. So it's London. It's not as safe as it was before. Remember, you guys super safed it with the one mission. A lot of that was never done, or you could see it was done for a time, but then it kind of faded away. The biggest thing that you noticed on the way back here, they elect kings now. They elect royalty. They have regular scheduled elections. As you start to look around, you can see those signs. There's an election coming up, but there's also more subtle things. The skyline is a little different. Some of the key buildings aren't there. If you look at a subway map or a map of London and the new thing, there's no castle, the big castle that they live in. Buckingham, thank you. I wanted to say Bethlehem Castle. It's like, that's not it. That's definitely not it. Buckingham Castle. It isn't there. It's a public works building from around the same time, so it's nowhere near as nice. It's just kind of a big brick of windows, like the little windows in the gray wall sort of thing. As you, I'm assuming, sort of check this out, and as you work out into the evening, there's a lot of that. We're going to start with Ted, because you asked me something beforehand, before the game, and it gave me a chance to think. You start like scrolling news feeds and that sort of thing to see, you said you were going to sort of look and see, do some recon and that sort of thing. The Tower of London as such is there, but it's a small little square tower. It's empty. The tours are underwhelming. You just kind of go in, you go up the spiral staircase, look off the top, go down the spiral staircase, and leave. That's all there is. There's no 15 towers around it. That's parkland, public space.
Wow. Looks like we managed to luck out on that one. And the London Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Looking up to see, how different is it? Because we super safed it, and then it went back away from super safe. And what's
sitting there now? Thank you, because I just answered that question just now. It's a brand new sort of, well, brand new London style, sort of within the last 50 years. Probably, if you look it up on your phone, it was bombed during World War II in this world, and it was replaced with a replica of the original London Bridge. So when you look up, you see the one that you just saved, and for a second, oh yeah, you see along. It looks like all the buildings are there. Like you can see it's all just overbuilt, and then you realize that's actually an art piece that's installed in the
along the
along
cabling.
the cabling.
I do hope they did that with, like, balsa wood, because that would be way too much weight for that to do. Okay.
As you look, you see it fluttering slightly. It's all flags.
Yes.
It's that
okay.
guy. So yes, the original, as out of place as that looks in this silver and glass modern downtown London, it's like this little, dare I use the phrase, time capsule, just punk.
Oh, I do have to admit, they did actually get it pretty accurate.
Yeah, the two of you look up and yeah, towering above you in the near distance.
I don't think there's many people walking around today that could actually say that, though. Right, kind of cool. So just kind of some of the places that we had been, like the underground bunker, is it still in there about that chaotic music band that attacked it?
Yes, the story is still there. In fact, if you look that story up, that area has been behind police tape since shortly after you guys left, which remember is only last night in this world.
I'm just wondering how much it shifted, what that was actually used for, like the Tower of London.
It's still it's that is still the same because its purpose is still the same. But now that you mention it, the Parliament houses that are there are a lot more bigger and elaborate. Because guess where the money that didn't go to the royalty went? It went to this government instead of the unelected government over there. It went to the pretend elected government over here. So yeah, Parliament building. There's not as much green over there. There's a lot more big, but they're like industrial impressive buildings. They're not like castle impressive, right? But yeah.
So, well, we have an opportunity as we sit there, kind of see exactly what all we have done. We know where we're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
We can always maybe take a stroll past and see if we've completely changed what some of these locations may actually offer us from what I know of a week ago. May not be at all what we are looking to
Sure.
go up against now.
So there's 4 left that you haven't done. So if you wanted to just take a midnight, this is kind of I like this idea, this midnight walk through London, just casually cruising first level recon on the next 4 targets.
I mean,
the founding of Ladinium by Rome, you hadn't done yet. That was the Eagle Standard.
Mm-hmm.
The Imperial War Museum appears from the outside to be unchanged. Until you start reading the plaques, like, because they've got things like field artillery pieces from the Boer War and this war and that war, and the changes are really subtle, but it's not in Her Majesty's name, in His Majesty's name, it's in the government's name. So GOV''T is everywhere on all of these plaques. Mm-hmm.
Well, that definitely put a wrinkle in someone's coin purse, didn't it?
As you keep moving, yeah.
That means like all the British ships have really dumb names now. The government ship, it's no longer Her Majesty's ship or His Majesty's ship.
Yeah, the HGS Renown just does not have the same ring, does it? The HGS Hood. A lot of the names are different too, because none of them are named after royalty. So they're all named after famous military figures, mostly Navy, but they ran out of those because they got more ships than they got famous Navy people. I really liked that time, and I couldn't name more than maybe a dozen. But yeah, Rupert's Land was just some guy. But yeah, yes. So you can keep heading on from the next one.
Yeah, there's
The,
there was the one that was the Tate
yes,
Museum.
the Globe Theater. The burning of the Globe Theater, the ashy manuscript that is currently at the Tate under review to check its authenticity. The Tate is in lockdown. Like they're still doing tours,
Tours.
but it's almost like preschool kids going for a walk. You almost have to hold on to the friggin' rope. Well, there's one at the front and one at the back, and if you let go of the rope, it goes me, and they stop everything until everybody holds the rope again. It's almost like that. You can see once you're through the doors, the velvet ropes are about that far apart, and they're not even trying to hide security. It's just like armed guards, and yeah, it is essentially as locked down as it can be, and still be making money.
I think that one definitely falls into the category of did we do that?
there it would appear, yeah. You should start again. I'll give you the answers because you've got the time, right? You flip through your phone again. Yes, there's kind of an ongoing argument as to whether government funds should be being used for this or not, to prevent a continuation of the terrorist attacks on and about London. The apparently random terrorist attacks on and about London. The Tate has gone hardcore, spending their own money to lock down.
Make some notes. Need to hack into security. Figure out what the hell they're doing behind the scenes.
Added note to that, the Tate, once they have confirmed its authenticity, will be shipping it to another location, so you maybe could hit it en route.
That's not going to be, because that was going to be going to the tower.
Yes.
So I don't think it's going to the tower anymore.
Probably not. The tower is no longer a museum. And then the last one you haven't done, real quick, is St. Paul's.
Well, we have two that we haven't done: St. Paul's and the Great Fire.
Oh, the Great Fire! I skipped it. The Great Fire. The sign is still behind the sign. The bakery sign is behind the current plaque. The biggest challenge with this is that, again, as a nationally important site, it's not as bad as the Tate, but it's got more security than normal. Although, to be fair, because it's a church and they're not putting armed guards in the corner of a church. Most of the defenses here are electronic in nature. So cameras, tasers, electronic doors, things like that. Or sorry, not doors, but the outside is.
We knew what you meant.
Cameras and stuff, yeah. And then St. Paul's itself, unchanged. The news, they don't think they've got anything worth stealing. Is basically
we'll show them,
and or nobody would steal from them,
right?
Because they've never heard of the Vikings. No one would steal from a church. It's not a church. It's a big house with two guys wearing no armor, and it's full of gold. We're coming in.
So doing the quick search.
Yep.
Just doing the quick background on it. Does it still look like the fire destroyed the cathedral as it had in the previous timeline for us?
Yes.
Everything that seems to have been like
the same. Yep. The original Gothic
one bit
cathedral.
Seems to
yep.
Not changed.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's going to be interesting for that
Mhm.
one. That one last safe haven in London that we haven't affected, evidently.
Yeah. So that's that information. That's the technical stuff out of the way. You've managed to distract yourself for a couple of hours with this, Ted, but eventually you're kind of out of stuff to do. You sort of look around, and tomorrow morning's coming, and like there's a life. What are you supposed to be doing tomorrow morning, Ted?
Well,
If anything.
if if my clock is still right, tomorrow was supposed to be, well, um, there was supposed to be a job. Um, nothing big, but it definitely would have covered the bills for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
But Ted is really, this has been a lot of time for him,
Yeah.
even though it has not been a lot of time.
Yep. I did say physically none of you are tired,
Right.
but yeah.
But I mean, at this point, we're actually about a day
Yep. You
at
have
this point that
you've
we've been
had
doing it.
hours and hours and hours of experiences in various
Yeah,
times and places.
we've had
Yeah.
about 3 days worth of experience.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Time
Between all the
flying.
running around and chasing, yeah, and getting stuff done and speeches. And, yep.
But as now all of this stuff is he's been going through and everything that's been happening, he he's been thinking, and what has driven him in his real life, he now basically sees that that is not really important. He sees how much can change, and Tower of London is a perfect example now. What he walked into and what he's now walked out of, it's all gone. All that goes, that's all gone away. And
And all the history that goes with it.
yeah. And so he's been just kind of evaluating what he's done
Yeah.
and realizing that he's realizing that he's far richer right now because he is actually seeing the real world, and he realizes a how fragile any one time in our history has been,
Yeah.
and he's also seen what a few words can do to make such a huge impact.
Yeah.
And so where it was always about that money that was driving him, he's he's realizing that's not as big of a pull for him now.
I love it.
He's this for him, this is the new pull. This is what he's like, this is, I can have all that money I want sitting in gold bullion in a closet. This,
And as
he
you
may
look
just
to
have
the
to let that
east,
job go. He
and
may
as you
not bother
look to
with
the
it.
east, the sun starts to come up behind what in my head looks like a slideshow to you. As the shadows move and the sun comes up behind the buildings, it kind of reminds you of it looked like this, and then it looked like that, and then it looked like this, and now it looks like this. And that's what's important. This, me, here, now.
Making sure
Right?
this
Yeah.
making sure this stays
Yeah.
here.
This is
Maybe
a
not
yeah.
quite how I completely remembered it,
Yeah.
but this stays here.
Perfect. Well, let's leave Ted there. Blake, what do you do from that moment they drop you off? Like you dropped off the moment you walk outside at 3 a.m.
Hmm. Well, I for sure, will look around, try and get a grasp of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, my little scooter that I've been borrowing
Oh
is
yes.
there.
Yep.
So they are gonna basically they're just gonna get on the scooter
Mm-hmm.
Throw on the helmet, of course, safety first,
Yep.
and they're just gonna basically drive around London. You know, all the little various streets,
Mhm.
drive by, you know, some of the locations that they remember from Callum's map. You know,
Yeah.
just drive up there and pardon the dogs.
No
They
worries.
think it got neighbors outside and they're going crazy because of the neighbors.
It's all good. I coughed at the same time. I don't think anybody even noticed the dogs. But yes, you
They
yeah.
they're basically the way I see it is that like they definitely go back and check out London Bridge again just to, you know, remember the little deal that they had gone through, and you know, they go back to the other locations where they've been previously
Oh wow. So
working
back
on
that way, it's
thinking. Yeah, they're gonna basically just go backwards
the places you
to
have been.
places they have been and try and figure out, you know, if the decision that they made at the time was
I
a
love
valid
this.
decision
Yep.
or if it was something that they should have done
1,
differently.
2, 3, 4,
So
5,
basically,
6,
they just
7.
ride up and, you know, the typical, they're sitting on the bike, just
Yep.
looking at the location and quietly contemplating. And then if like security or something tells them, bugger off,
Yeah.
she'll just drive, they'll just drive off and you know, come back around possibly on the other side of the street, but still be there.
Yep.
You know, that sort of thing. But yeah, they'll basically revisit everything in reverse.
Perfect. So I'm gonna go through these that you did. I'm just gonna do them in order so I don't miss any. You go back to that the low tide mark where you got the stick out of the mud. You literally took
Mm-hmm.
a stick in the mud. Um, there's a new sign, like they're putting up updates every day, and the newest sign that just as you walk up, you see somebody peel up the plastic, put the new thing in, and then put the plastic back down and close the gate. As you walk up, it says new site found 3 kilometers upstream, maybe even older. Details to
Oh,
come. So
oh
they
wow.
found the site that you guys said move this. They found that one as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you've
Hmm.
moved forward history there. Um, next, the London burned by Boudica. It means that London, because they chased the Romans out, London took a lot longer to develop. But there's now basically, especially this combines with a later one, all the places that used to be like Royal Lane are now like Boudica Lane, things like that. Not
Mhm.
just Boudica, but the other local heroes, and by local I mean like from the islands, not the invading Romans. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the street names have all gone that route instead. You go back to the
Mm-hmm.
Tower of London, and yeah, it's just a stump. Uh, but there's a plaque there too, and it actually, when you read it, it says, uh, "Found to be of no use, but built very sturdily, has resisted all attempts at destruction. Turned into a national monument, 1903." So
Mhm.
they built it, and it was supposed to be a prison, and they didn't need to use it, so it kind of just sticking up like a sore, embarrassing thumb in the middle of London. That they, short of explosives, it seems rude to blow it up, but other than that, yeah. London Bridge, you see the London Bridge where it's now the art. You see it from the other side because I want to add something to it. Um, you saw the initially, you see London, the recreation of London Bridge with the buildings on it as part of the uh,
Mm-hmm.
art installation. As you walk around the other side, you see all the houses have collapsed. On that side, the houses have all collapsed. It's on fire. It's burning. They've put art down the verticals and the horizontal components as well to make it look like it's all broken and falling apart. The London stump. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, the bridge has turned into an object lesson, right? A be safe object lesson. Um, the gunpowder plot never happened. This is the only one that just disappeared. Parliament was already strong. It gets even stronger very soon because you guys have gotten rid of royalty, basically. But you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and short of maybe a footnote, there was going to be an attempt, but it was easily foiled, something like that. It never really happened. Guy Fawkes was just some dude. And then the last one, the Battle of Britain. Again, you saw part of this earlier. The other ones did. When you get over to that part of the city, the Parliament buildings and whatnot are built up. That park isn't as much park as it is on the map. There's a lot more Parliament buildings and other government buildings in that area. The hole that's got the museum that you guys robbed is locked down big time behind police tape. But because again, I'm giving everybody that looks into place extra information. There is around the back of one of these buildings, there is a small cross, just a little stone cross in a little almost like a box made of stones. And if you get close and scrub it, it says, "Here lies the last Queen of England." But it's around the back of the Parliament building. This is not where royalty's supposed to get buried. This is a statement. And then how poorly it's done and how disrespectful it is. Yeah. I'm not going to say that out loud, and it's not going streamed. So, but yes, that's funny. Just because it would give away some personal information. Never mind. So, with that, Blake, the one thing about you talked earlier about, if the security guards shuffle you along, you'll go.
Yeah.
There's that level of hardcore security isn't here, other than around pretty much every museum and national monument. Other than that, London's pretty relaxed. And of course, by the way, no reports of two thefts from the Tower of London, because nobody would keep stuff in that tower. So that you come back to a world in which one of your own stories has been excised from history. I love this format. Oh, it's so much fun to try and keep track of this shit. So again, Blake, with that information, the world has completely changed. But somehow, it's really still really familiar. And it's kind of the same. So, as the sun comes up for Blake, what's their epiphanous moment? What hits them?
My guess is that they're probably going to find like a hilltop location where they can look out where the sunrise is going to come up.
Yeah.
And
there's a great spot right by the stump of London.
So they're going to go there.
Oh, literally in the shadow of the Tower of London. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I guess that'll be like the last place they visit before they go to this location.
Yeah.
Then we'll park their bike and leave the helmet with the bike, and then just walk up to the top of the hill, assuming there's like a bench or something there, because narratively, of course, there's going to be.
Yes, there is. Yep.
And of course, it's going to be facing where the sun comes up.
Yep.
So they're just going to sit there, watch the sunrise, and ponder if they're doing right, if the dogs barking in the background are going to make any difference in the world.
The dogs are happy.
Aside.
The dogs are happy.
That
question I'll answer for you.
No, okay. The birds are, she'll watch birds flying and stuff like that. Just basically watch the sunrise and basically just work on getting their mind back straight and narrow, back onto let's put what we've done behind us now and work on what we need to do now. Just try and focus and make sure that whatever we do now, we do not fail, because if we fail again, things might get worse rather than better, and they'd rather have things go better than worse, you know? And then basically you just sit there and watch the sunrise. Somehow or another, they're just tossing some breadcrumbs to some birds that are there.
So you're thinking about success. Need
Getting
to
ready, yeah,
succeed.
getting their mind in, back on the focus, back on track.
The weight.
Thinking maybe that,
Yeah.
hoping maybe that last one was just a fluke.
Yeah.
That
Fair
they
enough.
really don't want to get blown up. Honestly, they don't.
Fair enough. Yeah, you got blown up real good. So the weight and responsibility of success and or failure weighing upon you as the sun rises. Very different emotion from at some different point in the city we had for Ted. And by dawn, they'll be at a different point in the city. Let's switch over to Mick. 3 a.m. You went to at least as far as the bridge with Ted, because you commented on that. So let's take you from that moment, from looking at realizing that the work of art, that what's on the bridge is a work of art.
Mick's looking at the bridge, looking around, seeing all the campaign flyers of this, that, and the other person for King.
There's a lot of joke ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mick reaches into one of his various pockets he has on his cargo pants, because he doesn't have his jacket anymore. He's
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
like a wife beater tank top for his
Yeah.
upper half right now.
Yeah.
And he pulls out a cigarette, lights it, puts it to his lips. He watches Ted leave.
Yep.
And I imagine there's like a railing over the Thames.
There is, yep.
And he's just kind of leaning against that as he's just thinking, because he doesn't know about everything that the Guy Fawkes stuff never actually happened in this timeline.
You haven't done any research yet, so yeah.
So he's just thinking back to his failures, to that specific failure, and remembering the last time he actually failed, at least that he acknowledges as a failure anyway. And he pulls out his phone, and the camera zooms in for a moment, and you see his picture background. There's him, and then next to him, basically, if you can imagine a female version of Mick.
Yep.
Right next to him, fraternal twins, but it's dated.
Yeah.
So it's like the picture is at least 5 or 6 years old at this point. And he flips open to his contacts, clicks a name, and it just goes straight to voicemail. But he's just kind of smoking that cigarette while it's ringing. And then it just says automated message. And Mick just says, hey sis, I know it's been a while since I gave you a call, but things have been tough. Had some good days, had some bad days, and has had something happen that made me think back to the last time we saw each other. And then mind screen flashback, it's Mick hopping onto a nondescript bus, going off to boot camp as his sister is watching him leave. And that's the last time he saw his sister, because he went into boot camp, followed his uncle's path and all that stuff. and he's just regurgitating all this stuff because and just like it's one of those excessively long voicemails that like eventually it's just like beep, you are running out of time on this voicemail.
Yep.
And he hears that goes off and he's just like, I'm sorry I'm rambling, but I just want to let you know that I know I haven't been in touch, but I still love you and I miss you. And he clicks it back off, puts his phone away, and just starts walking down the sidewalk, down towards the bridge.
You
and
get an
just starts
automated
walking.
response. Like there's a beep and you've got a message. It's not a voice message, it's like a text to your number.
Yep.
And it says it's an automated thing. Like this is a pre-made
Yep.
message. It says, as you can imagine, the director of historical studies receives hundreds of calls per day. Your call will be reviewed, and if it is deemed necessary, be passed on to her at this time. Beep. Sort of then end of message. She is the director of historical studies at the Tate.
And he had like followed his sister for a little bit, but I mean,
This
he
was
knew-
not how it was before. This was not who she was
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
yeah,
This is all new. Yeah.
yeah, because he doesn't. This is not the timeline that he
Nope.
remembers this stuff. So he's walking across the London Bridge, cigarette in hand, and he's still dwelling on the fact that he failed. But as he's walking, he like sees like the snapshots of Boudica Lane or Guy Fawkes Avenue or like like
Not that one,
pieces
but
of the
yes, other
people.
ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just as
That
an
one's
example,
gone.
it's
No, because that one doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah.
So
it was more of
well,
another named person from a experience or
so-
Churchill Way.
but you brought this up, Mick. So the failure that you keep circling back to, Mick, didn't happen in this world. Guy Fawkes didn't blow up the building.
Where would you say he would start would notice that though?
You tell me. Where I like the idea of walking across of the dawn. We're doing the other ones. This is the moment the opening of your eyes at dawn. So as you're standing on London Bridge, hanging over the guardrail, 47th cigarette of the night in hand, right?
Yep.
The art behind you of because it's got to be the burn side, right? The broken down
Yep.
side of the bridge. That's the side you're hanging off, right? As the sun
Yep.
comes up in front of you, when you realize your failure, in a very real sense, didn't happen.
What would be like the visual cue for him to see that?
Oh, I
So-
know. Even I know. This is a 1 in a bajillion occurrence that only ever happens. I don't even know if it can happen as far north as London. The Green Dawn. There's if the refraction is just right, a split second, maybe for a second, a half a second, just before the dawn comes up, there's a flash of emerald green light. It looks like a laser pointed at your face. And it's just bang, and what the hell was, and then the sun breaks the horizon. So at that flash, the green flash goes off, you trigger, your PTSD triggers to the explosion of, wait a minute, that never happened here. There.
And like as this realization settles in, like Mick is struggling with the fact that he still has those two internal timelines happening. The actual timeline that happened due to the fact that the War of the Roses never happened, which is the actual timeline.
Yeah.
And then there's the parallel timeline, which it still happened, which led to the Guy Fawkes, where he got exploded by Guy Fawkes, and it causes him to drop his cigarette. We see it tumbling down towards the Thames, and he just kind of looks up to the sky, looks to his left. Do we have the map up?
If you're facing east, looking left, you're looking at downtown London. So what should be the Tower of London is right there, but isn't. So there's some really obvious skyline changes.
So I imagine he looks out and he sees what's now called the TGS Belfast.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The government ship
government
Belfast.
ship Belfast. Absolutely. Yep.
And then he looks a little farther left and he sees a few of the other buildings, the singular Tower of London, and it just settles in that what I failed at was overwritten due to other people's decisions. And as this settles in, it's very unsettling to Mick in the sense that it's out of his control. And he's not used to that. But he realizes also at that moment that he has people with him, not physically, but in a metaphorical sense, that are capable of doing things to go above and beyond what he could possibly imagine. And that even if he fails, what they do can erase his failures, and that it's okay for him to not be perfect.
You can relax and be the Giga Chad hero that you always wanted to be. But as you turn, I shouldn't have thrown that joking because it's a beautiful moment. But you turn and start to walk away, and the camera snaps to the surface of the water, and you see a tiny red dot coming down, and it's your cigarette. And the camera backs away just in time to see it hit the water, and that is where we will drop the curtain on tonight. Whew. That was less than an hour, but deep, dense, and interesting because I got to see way, 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 way more of these characters than, in some senses, than we did in all those running around, changing history stories combined. So, and I think I watch Eyes a lot, and I watched you guys learn about your characters too. So I enjoyed this one a lot. It was called Intermezzo, which means short musical break, and that's really what tonight was supposed to be. You guys are going to, we'll start next week with you guys sort of going home and getting a day's rest and wondering if it was all real, and then going back for the final 4 parts. So with that, it is time for the thank yous. These episodes can be really exhausting. They can be overwhelming for some people, and it's a great opportunity to remind myself to tell these people how brave they are. Role playing is a form of bravery all by itself. Like just going out and hanging out with your friends and just playing a silly character. That's already brave. Doing that on stream is crazy levels of brave because the internet can be a really toxic, nasty place. So putting yourself out there, just playing any game is super brave. But bearing your soul and throwing all of your defenses to the wind and just being your characters on the stream is the bravest of the bravest of the brave. So thank you all for doing that. Thank you very much, Sean. You do this live too, and honestly, that terrifies me. I've played so much online in the last couple of years that the idea of standing in a room, I used to do march up and down the table and hanging over people's shoulders and just the whole thing. It's been years, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for fitting right into the Dirty 20 world. And thank you very, very much for Ted. The redemption arc is clear in this one. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Uh, Solar, Blake. You got 4 more episodes. I saw the corner turn tonight too. We're all, I think you included, going to find out who Blake is by the end of this. But not yet. I love it. You're at that point now where all the questions have been asked and none of them have been answered. So you're at that critical rebuild moment in your character, and I love it. Story arcs everywhere. Yes, you can do story arcs in 10 episodes. You can do them in 1. You just gotta. But thank you so much for bringing us yet another original character.
My pleasure. I enjoy doing it. It does. I just want to say that each character I bring in here normally has a piece of me in them, especially.
Of course, yeah.
Well, Beowulf did, but
we could
he's still
honestly
very
call this
near and
channel
dear to my
character bleed, but it would not be false.
Yeah, but no, I do enjoy it a lot, and it's just a great outlet for me, and I hope to continue doing it. I'm
Oh.
just not DM material. I know that now.
Well, you know what? Everybody learns something, and we're gonna. Yeah, I got a plan. We briefly talked
We'll
about
work
it,
on
but
it.
for right now,
We'll work on it. Yeah.
for right now, we got you at Fool's Gold, and that's because of you that we
Ah.
have Fool's Gold. So happy, joy. You guys are getting tons of views on the VOD just in the last 24 hours. So I'm very, very happy. That is another one. It's like our Monday. I'm going to brag a little bit here. It's like our Monday show. Two shows that I'm not actually in, and I love them both for the same reason. It is a group of people that are passionate about the world they're playing. And the Monday game, they are Buffy nerds to the nth degree. And I don't know squat about Buffy. So the pre-shows and the post-shows is just me sitting there going, huh? And the whole show is me going, I don't get to joke. But watching them play, it's like watching a bunch of people play in a basement, right? They forget the camera's running, and the same thing I'm sure is happening over there on the King's Pyrite. It's a bunch of people that love the game, that love that world, that love Dingo Doodles, and in one sense, it's what brought a lot of us together in the original other server.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that one.
Dingo
was the reason I first.
Mm-hmm.
Dingo was the reason I first started tuning into that particular channel that you're referring to.
Yeah.
And allowed me to meet the wonderful Guy, which led me to you. So I am grateful for that. And so it just kind of comes full circle with all of this. Now that we're doing this campaign, I'm continually excited to do some more. And I do promise, like I did last night, that like I'm doing now, I'll wear my headset with my little microphone nearby so you can hear poor Luna, because she's very soft and kind of shy, very quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll work on it. She's a work in progress too. All my characters normally are.
First episodes are always full of technical challenges. That's part of the fun of doing live. That's part of the brave, because anything can and will happen. But I love that idea. I want to come back to it for a real quick second before we move on. The full circle. Mm-hmm. This is one of those full circle moments. We keep having those at Dirty 20 Gaming where it's like, this is why I came to you. And it's like, oh, cool. And the circle completes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. Now I get to throw a baby lion off a cliff, don't I? Never mind.
No, you have to hold them up first.
I'm sorry, wrong word. I have to accidentally drop the tiny predator. Yeah. Okay, never mind. It's the circle of life, you bastard. There's a dislike button if anybody watched it here. Before I forget them, Aaron /Primus thank you for bringing Mick to the table tonight. Oh, we saw Mick with no jacket on. I mean, like it was like you took your armor off and we saw Mick tonight, right? It was really poetic. So thank you. Yeah, I love this character. He's learning. You talk about character arcs. It's like the responsibility hit him. It was way too much, but he figured out a way to cope, so it's gonna be okay. Yeah, yeah. And the idea
It-
of a highly motivated and highly confident Mick fills me with enthusiasm for the adventures to come.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of fun playing Mick, especially considering my previous character I played here
Yep.
was the exact opposite
Yep,
of Mick.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And that's another thing too. If you got a chance in role playing games, do it. Play weird, play different characters, play something different every single time. Completely different than I just did. Completely different than I just did. Don't do the same thing twice. Why would you? It's a game based on creativity. I got lucky. I got some amazingly creative people for this game. In fact, we got a whole community over at Discord of amazingly creative people, artists, actors, voice actors, all just unbelievable. Well, I beat you by a fraction of a second. But it's also, like I said, and if you're watching the VOD on Twitch, look underneath. The link is the permanent link is there. Join us. This could be you too. Or if you just want to lurk and hang out with some really cool people, that also works. No camera necessary, by the way. If that's what's keeping you from playing, you can play with a blank screen. We can work with it. We've done it 1,000 times before.
Yep.
But,
And PNG characters too.
yes, PNGs, VTubers, we have had the works. And always, always, always looking to expand on that. I have a way that we can play live by text. That's how willing I am to get people to play these games. We can do it. So, with that, that ties beautifully into this. Thank you all for watching on the VOD, and thank you all for watching on YouTube. If you watched all the way to here, please hit the like button because I'm going to assume you did, or you had us on in the background, in which case, thank you. Still hit the button. You could probably not hear this, but you can see me gesticulating madly, so you probably know it's getting close to the end. Hit the button, hit all the buttons, except for the one that cost you money, because I'm not going to ask you to do that. But hit all the other buttons, and we'll see you next week. Because until next time, please be nice to each other. Good night, everybody.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night.